Part 92. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 912. As the south wind broke through the realm, the Sirius at her feet also suddenly opened his eyes, and the Sirius aura jumped simultaneously, and the soul was also enlightened. However, at this moment, Sirius raised his eyes and let out a low moan towards her. Even you, are like this. Sirius said, she, has no soul either. Nanfan's face suddenly became serious, her pretty face turned pale, as if she had thought of some incredible possibilities, and said, no. Soulless, am I, a living person? Senior sister, what's wrong? Zai Ling was a little drunk, but she still noticed something strange about Nanfan and couldn't help asking questions at this moment. Nanfan did not answer, but said solemnly, Junior sister Xiling, drink some more and try to break through. Xiling immediately said, good. She drank all the wine in the bowl. At this moment, Xiling's spiritual platform was glowing, and she felt that through the drunkenness, everything in front of her seemed to have turned into a painting. Her consciousness gradually condensed between the morning platforms. Then, she saw the divine fire in the spiritual platform. Is this where my soul is? Xiling whispered, but the next moment, she was a little confused and said, why is everything in the divine fire empty? Her 3 souls and 7 souls are also missing. Xiling opened her eyes and looked at Nanfan. A flash of surprise flashed through her beautiful eyes and she said, sister, are you too? Nanfan nodded, gently stroked Sirius' head, and said, the same is true for Qian. This, has no soul, are we dead? Xiling thought curiously. At this moment, others have begun to break through. Xuanhuan Lingtai glowed, and the flames burned in the sea of consciousness, causing his aura to change drastically. The martial arts aura was very mysterious, but the 10 divine fires were empty of souls. Duguyuking's sword intent broke through the spiritual platform, but he was instantly stunned. There was nothing in his spiritual platform, only 10 lights flickering. Qing Chen entered the spiritual platform and opened the place of divine fire. He immediately wondered, don't Buddhist practitioners have 3 souls and 7 souls? Xian Ning entered the realm of soul enlightenment, but in the spiritual platform, a flash of deep confusion flashed across her big eyes. At this moment, they were all breaking through. However, every disciple who broke through the situation was trapped in doubt. Because, in their divine fire, none of them have souls. 3 souls and 7 souls, all are missing. What is going on? Is there something wrong with our realm? Wu Date couldn't help but speak. Are we all soulless? Are we still human? Zhang Li also murmured. Even Yungzi has entered the realm of soul enlightenment at this moment. However, after entering the spiritual platform and seeing the divine fire, she was also confused. She saw that the divine fire was empty. However, there are lines of golden text in the divine fire, which seem to be indelible and shining brightly. Yungzi looked towards the first divine fire, and she was reading the line of text. This soul changes, is uncontrollable, weird and unpredictable. When it comes to a secret road, it kills itself. Yun 11 read this line of text, his big eyes suddenly filled with doubts. Could this line of text be left by me in my previous life? In the previous life, did you kill the soul in this divine fire? The 3 souls and 7 souls coexist with life and can be said to be the origin of life. However, in the previous life of Yungzi, one of the 3 souls and 7 souls had something strange that I couldn't control, so that I had to kill it with my own hands. The words in the 9 divine fires that followed were unclear. Perhaps Yungzi needs to be at a higher level to get a glimpse of it. There is no soul anymore. At this moment, Yun 11 was a little drunk because she had drunk too much. Her beautiful face was flushed, and she subconsciously said, The great demon king, my soul is gone. Am I still alive? Hearing this, a group of disciples immediately became concerned. Sure enough, even Yungzi is the same. Their eyes were all looking at Li Fan with concern, and they all had the same question. All living things in the world have souls. If you lose your soul, even if your body is still alive, you will lose all consciousness and become like a living dead or a walking corpse. None of them, this is so weird. Perhaps, only Li Fan can answer it. After all, they were all fished out by Li Fan from the long river of cause and effect. And Li Fan, who was dipping his fingers in wine and feeding it to Xiao Bai, was a little confused when he heard this. Yungzi's soul is gone? And asked her if she was alive? What's the problem? Is this girl Yungzi drunk? Li Fan shook his head and said. Things like the soul are too complicated, don't pay too much attention to it. As he spoke, he scratched Yungzi's nose lovingly. And you, must be alive, fool. I promise you, you will live well in this world. After Yun 11 heard this, she immediately smiled stupidly. She felt extremely relieved. No matter what big things happened, it didn't matter anymore. The big devil said that he is a living person, so he must be a living person. When the other disciples heard this, they couldn't help but nod. The matter of the soul, even Master uses the word complicated to describe it, I'm afraid it involves a lot. Nanfan couldn't help but murmur, this description is rarely heard from the Master. Master, he has eternal intentions and is planning something shocking. This, may be just his arrangement. Zhang Li also nodded. He vaguely felt that the incomplete souls of himself and his fellow apprentices should be a part of the Master's overall situation. Master told us not to pay attention. It should be that our realm is too low and we are not yet exposed to such deep mysteries, the soul seems to be involved in the ultimate. Lin Zhuzhan's face was solemn. He practiced the Celestial Master's method and had some understanding of it in a certain Celestial Master's classics. The other disciples were also relieved. No matter what happened, as long as Li Fan was around, they had nothing to fear. Even the second uncle also spoke and said. Xiao Li is right, even if the soul is lost, it doesn't matter. His old face said with memories. In the early years, people in the village often lost their souls. Every time they lost their souls, they had to go to the village dance master to summon the souls, but it was troublesome. Every time they lost their souls, they had to break their muscles and bones. Listen to what the dancing master said, there is an evil spirit in this world that is 100 times scarier than the grey ghost. It specializes in taking people's souls. If people lose their souls, they will die and they will never wake up. Later, the one who performed the dance left the village. That night, everyone in the village seemed to have lost their souls again. I slept the latest that night, and vaguely saw the souls of the villagers lining up to leave the village. As a result, I woke up the next day when I heard the crow of chickens at the entrance of the village. The villagers were all fine too, nothing happened, right, Xiao Li? You happened to come to the village the next day, it's the old hen you brought, and its crow is louder than the big rooster. Uncle Zhao Er said to Li Fan. Hearing this, Li Fan also had a flash of memories on his face and said with a smile. When I came, the leaves in the village were up to my knees, as if it had not been swept for 3 years, and the grass in the courtyard was barren, as if it had not been hoed for 3 years. I thought it was a deserted village with no one there. The second uncle also said. I'm confused too. I remember that before going to bed the first day, there were vegetables planted in the yard. When I woke up the next day, they were all turned into weeds. It's strange, that's all. I won't say it anymore. Come on, drink. The second uncle raised his glass and drank with Li Fan. Li Fan also smiled and drank immediately. On the other side, the 3 new psychopaths were also shocked at this moment. A drop of this divine wine can be called a heaven-defying thing. If it is placed in the grey mist sea, it will cause big waves. Demon Ancestor took a bite and his whole body trembled. This bowl of wine actually got rid of my blood hunger disease. The Blood Ancestor was even more stunned. He practiced in the blood path, so over time, he developed a bad disease. He would thirst for blood. If he couldn't drink blood, he would feel extremely uncomfortable, as if there were thorns in his heart. But now that this bowl of wine was in his stomach, the powerful wine power seemed to turn into the supreme divine source, washing his whole body. The feeling of blood hunger disappeared immediately. As for Qi Ancestor, he was already a little drunk at this moment. He looked towards Ming Tianbei and said, "Master Dean, can you share the bones and bones of the garbage in the village with me?" Ming Tianbei was drinking wine, and he was suddenly stunned. It seems that when I was picking up trash in the past, I really forgot about bones or something. Those are the bones thrown away after being eaten by the supreme creatures in the village, such as pigs and cows. It's definitely a treasure. Ming Tianbei immediately waved his hand and said, "From today on, you will collect bones and hand them over to our courtyard. I will allocate some to you as appropriate." Chizia was immediately excited and delighted, saying, "Thank you, Dean. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert." Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 913. Late at night. The bonfire has gradually been extinguished, the wine has been drunk, and the roasted squab has been eaten. Everyone in the village went back to rest. Li Fan carried back Nanfeng, Ziling, and other female disciples, as well as Gongya and Xianning, and then dragged Long Xuan, Wu Dade, and others with him. Yun 11 was still helping him. After she finished dragging, there was a layer of sweat on her face, and her red face looked even cuter. "The Great Demon King, I have already thought of it today. One method can transform 9 methods, that's it? Let's go to the next round, then the next round." Yongzi pestered Li Fan. Although she was a little drunk, she was very energetic. After Li Fan's advice, she had thought of a better way to use her plate to cross the river together, and now she was eager to give it a try. Li Fan also smiled and said, "Okay, then I'll accompany you." Immediately, they lit the lamp in Yongzi's room, laid out the Go chess, and continued playing chess. White pieces and black pieces continued to fall, and Yongzi soon showed her method of crossing the plate together. 1 turned into 9, swallowing mountains and rivers, connected to each other. There were living eyes everywhere, and there was a dragon court everywhere. Li Fan couldn't help but nodded in approval. Yun 11's understanding was really very high. "How about it, Big Demon King, you lose, my method of holding the whole situation together has been successful." Yun 11 spoke excitedly, her 9 chess skills had been initially successful. Li Fan smiled, picked up a chess piece, and said, "Great progress, but, 1 turned into 9, it's still not enough. 9 dragons run across the chessboard, but if the dragon's head ignores the dragon's tail, it will be difficult to survive after all." After saying that, he fell down. In an instant, Yongzi's 9 dragons chess game collapsed. The dragon's head was beheaded and its tail was reduced to a piece of sand. "Ah, how could this happen?" Yun 11's big eyes were filled with surprise. The 9 methods are still in space. Among the 9 methods, there are still many changes that need to be completed one by one before your formation can be completed. Li Fan smiled and said, "It's late at night, go to bed early, think about the chess thing tomorrow, don't tire yourself." Hearing this, Yun 11 didn't think much more, smiled sweetly and nodded. Li Fan took care of her to sleep. Watching her sleep, he couldn't help but reach out and gently rub her temples. This silly girl will get tired if she thinks too much. After a long time, Li Fan stood up, but he did not leave. Instead, he returned to the chess game, sat down, and dropped 7 chess pieces. Suddenly, Yongzi's 9 dragons formation underwent an astonishing change. A small part of the chess formation actually came to life, looking at each other from head to tail, and could not be cut off. It has become a golden soup. Li Fan smiled and left these hands so that the silly girl Yongzi could see them when she wakes up tomorrow. But he didn't finish the game, he just left an introduction. After all, he wanted Yongzi himself to have a thinking process. Chess, Xiao Dao, I'm here. As long as you want, I will help you reach perfection and become undefeated in the world. He smiled slightly, opened the door and left, taking a rest. The winter wind blew through, and the courtyard became silent. Master, is he finally going to take action? The old hen's voice sounded, and there seemed to be a touch of excitement hidden in her words. However, Dosha said, it's not about taking action, the master is just fulfilling the wish of his previous life for her. She was also very miserable in her previous life. She walked too many miles alone. She had to protect the world and face the terrifying truth alone. She spent her whole life just chasing her master's back. She was so talented and beautiful, but in the end she just wrote sad songs. Only today did I know that she had killed 3 souls and 7 souls by herself. There was a hint of heaviness and a hint of awe in her words, and she said, without the 3 souls and 7 souls, she could disappear from the sight of the eyes of the source and live. She could have been immortal, but she was still reincarnated. This shows that she did not choose to live back then, but went to die anyway. Miss Yongzi is very affectionate towards her master. The old hen was silent for a long time, and then slowly said, the master just wants to take action to help her reach the end of her unfinished journey in her previous life, and give her splendid prosperity in this life, but like this, when the 9 Dharma is completed, the whole world will be on the road, and the taboo will be violated, and the road will become easier. Those black hands will also wake up. Dosha said lightly. So what if it touches a taboo? Not to mention it's just 9 methods. Even if Miss Yongzi wants those 3,000 forbidden ways, who would dare to say a word about it? In this life, the master is here. Whoever dares to reach out will disappear completely from this world. Even if the source is there, it can only close its eyes. In the pond, the waves rolled, the dragon shadow leaped, and the fighting spirit was shocking. The dragon clan shouted in unison. Disappear completely. Close your eyes. Disappear completely. Close your eyes. Seeing this scene, the old hen glanced at them and suddenly said, call again? Call me again and let Bai Xiaoqing come out to pick out the fish to eat. Whichever fish cries the most happily will be eaten. Hearing this, a group of dragons were stunned for a moment, and then they all disappeared in an instant. The pond immediately returned to calm, as if nothing had happened. A group of koi carps were hidden deep in the water, leaving only a small black fish swimming on the surface. However, the little black fish hesitated and hid under the water. Peach Tree, on the other hand, whispered, if the master falls behind these few children, the 9 Dharma will move, and the wheels of history will eventually roll around. Right now. True Ancestor Realm. Heaven descends to the continent. Tianjiang continent is the ancestral continent of the Yang family, one of the 9 ancient immortal clans in the past. It is said that the reason why this continent got its name is related to some strange experiences of Yang Daomei, the ancestor of the Yang family. In the past, Tianjiang continent was prosperous and full of practitioners. It was one of the holy places for cultivation in the world. Until many years ago, Yang Daomei, the ancestor of the Yang family, and Zhang Yunzheng, the ancestor of the Zhang family, fulfilled the old covenant in Tianjiang continent and tried to make the ultimate sacrifice to the world. As a result, something strange happened, and the entire Yang family disappeared. Only Yang Tian, who was not in the family at the time, had to escape. As for the Zhang clan, there was no survivor. From then on, this land of hundreds of millions of miles was regarded as the birthplace of ominous things and disasters. No practicing sect was willing to establish a sect here, so they all fled. The prosperous sky descended into the continent and turned into a barren land. No one lived or practiced anymore. Instead, it became a paradise for rare and rare animals in the world. In the past, demon cities were built one after another on the ancestral land of the Yang family. At this moment, in a demon city, Your Majesty, those days of human pilgrimage are coming again. In the main hall, a bull demon was reporting. At the top of the hall, there was a middle-aged man sitting. He was strong and muscular. Hearing this, he said calmly, "Just come when you arrive. Isn't it just a ruin? Those humans like to see it, so let them see it. There is no need to conflict with them." This middle-aged man is the king of this demon city, the divine Ox King. The bull demon below said, "But Your Majesty, we are jointly excavating the ruins with Jinwu City and Tongji City. We are only halfway through the excavation. When those humans come, I'm afraid it won't be appropriate." Hearing this, the divine Ox King frowned slightly. The same goes for these human races. The place where the Yang clan and Zhang clan have strange happenings is regarded as some kind of holy place by them. They have to come there every year for pilgrimage. What's the use? He was puzzled. In the past, the Yang and Zhang tribes built the ultimate Taoist platform in Lingxiu Mountain, thousands of miles away, and held sacrifices to the world. But, in the end, something strange came to that mountain, and everyone disappeared. That mountain is regarded as an ominous place by most people in the world, but there are some persistent people who believe in the Old Testament and regard the ruins as the last holy place. Lingxiu Mountain is also known as the Mountain of Sacrifice to the world. Every year, on the day of sacrifice for the Yang and Zhang tribes, people come to worship these two tribes. This is called pilgrimage. That's all, let's get them back first. We won't dig for the next few days. We'll wait until those pilgrims have finished their pilgrimage before continuing." The divine Ox King spoke. Immediately, the bull demon below also nodded and prepared to leave. But, right now, boom! It was as if something shocking had appeared, and the entire Tianjiang continent was shaken by it. All living creatures across the land for hundreds of millions of miles could feel it. What happened? The Holy Ox King was all frightened, got up hurriedly, and went out to check. In the night sky thousands of miles away, 7 shocking white rainbows burst out from the earth. The white rainbows reflected the entire Tianjiang continent like daylight. No. That's the location of Mount Sacrifice. The divine Ox King murmured. What happened? At the same time, in the vast starry sky, there was also a sarcophagus, passing through silently. At this moment, it changed direction and seemed to break through the limitations of space. It appeared in the sky above Tianjiang continent and headed directly towards the place where the 7 white rainbows were. Good night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 914. That night, the entire Tianjiang continent was shocked. What happened? That is the direction of Mount Sacrifice. Recently, people from 3 demon cities are digging. Could it be that they have dug up some shocking treasure? This breath is so terrifying. As long as I face that direction, I can't help but kneel down. For a time, all the creatures were talking about it. We have to go check it out quickly. If there is any big opportunity, we can still grab it. Yes, it is absolutely amazing to be born in a place like this. At the same time, many demon clans are rushing over there. Seal the sacrifice mountain immediately. At the same time, powerful voices sounded in the three demon cities. The mountain of sacrifice already belongs to us, and no one can get its hands on the treasures inside. All of a sudden, the divine Ox King, the great ape monkey king, and the Xuanhuan turtle king all appeared. They spoke directly to warn the creatures in Tianjiang continent, and at the same time sent a large number of demon soldiers to immediately blockade the sacrifice mountain. These white rainbows are really amazing, as if they have brought back endless years. The three of the divine Ox King arrived in front of the sacrifice mountain, but they couldn't stand at all. They all sat on the ground, a little embarrassed. The white rainbow penetrated the sun, and the aura was shocking and brilliant. They didn't even dare to look into the sacrifice mountain, their eyes would be blinded. Something supreme must have been born, maybe it will be related to the one at the end of 10,000 paths. The Monkey King couldn't help but speak, his eyes filled with greed. We have to be prepared. If such a big thing happens, all the major human forces will definitely come. Xuanhuan Turtle King whispered. Hey, what is that? A coffin? Flying into the mountain. Suddenly, the divine Ox King spoke in shock, his bull eyes widened and stared at the sky. The Xuanhuan Turtle King and the Ape King hurriedly raised their eyes, but saw nothing. What coffin? There isn't one. The King of Divine Ox said. I really saw a coffin just now, and it flew into it. It was so fast, it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Did I see it wrong? He rubbed his eyes. Too many weird things happened today, don't get too nervous. King Xuanhuan Turtle said. Let's go, we have to prepare immediately. These white rainbows are too strong. No one can get close to them now. Immediately, the three demon kings all left. And at this moment, sacrifice to the world mountain. This is a desolate mountain with nothing left except stones and soil. The original sacrifice mountain has beautiful mountains and clear waters. It is often inhabited by spiritual birds and shrouded in spiritual rain all year round. There are countless caves and blessed places in it. It is one of the best enlightenment mountains in Tianjiang continent. Therefore, it is also named Lingxiu Mountain. However, since the Yang clan and the Zhang clan offered sacrifices here in the past, something bad happened. Strange things happened between the two clans, and even every plant and tree on the mountain disappeared. For countless years, this mountain range has turned into a rocky desert, with not a single blade of grass growing. Even when it rains, it cannot reach this mountain range, so there has never been any soil erosion due to heavy rain. It seems to remain as it was in the past. After the human race withdrew from Tianjiang continent and the monster race occupied this land, they stayed away from it for a long time. It was only in recent years that they gradually explored it and finally sent people to dig it. After all, the Yang and Zhang clans are both big clans, and it would be a great thing if they could dig out some treasures, secrets, etc. What's going on, Chief, have we dug up a ghost? At this moment, a group of demon soldiers were trembling, kneeling on the ground, and couldn't help but ask questions. This demon soldier is composed of 3 demon cities, with hundreds of people. The 7 divine rainbows had just appeared, and the terrifying power made them faint. They woke up after a long time. However, the white rainbow did not disperse, and they could only kneel on the ground. Don't talk nonsense, talking nonsense will kill people. Niu Yishao, the leader from Shenyu City, spoke tremblingly and was also very scared. I heard that this mountain caused 2 of the world's top families to disappear, will we disappear too? Ho Shen from the Ape City was also uneasy at the moment. It's not. We should be safe. When the white rainbow dissipates, the king and the others will come to save us. Wang Chong, the turtle demon in Xuanhuan City, is imagining happily. Hey, no, why is grass growing in this place? Suddenly a demon soldier spoke in shock. Everyone looked down and saw that green grass actually sprouted up around them in an instant. Soon, not only grass, but also tall ancient trees appeared. Just for a moment. What's going on? Am I dazzled? All the demons were extremely shocked. No. Why is there a Taoist platform somewhere? Niu Yishao suddenly pointed forward. Everyone looked around and saw a huge looming Taoist platform in front of them. Only a corner of the Taoist platform appeared, and it seemed to be still hidden in the void. Can we finally come out? I, Yang Daomei, want to die in this world. I know that since I survived the catastrophe because of that fat man, nothing in this world can kill me. In a daze, these demons seemed to hear some kind of happy voice. It's over, it's haunted, it's haunted. Are the ghosts of the Yang and Zhang clan about to appear? The demon soldiers on the scene suddenly panicked. The key point is that this is so weird. The vegetation reappears, and the Taoist platform is looming, but there is no living person, but human voices are heard. What is this if it's not haunted? Run, run. I don't want to die. For a moment, this group of demon soldiers dispersed like birds and beasts and fled from the place in a hurry. After they escaped, a coffin slowly fell from above. What is this place? The sarcophagus also brought 3 cultivators, 2 girls, and an old man. At this moment, Huo Ling'er looked at the scene in front of her, her beautiful eyes filled with doubts. This place is amazing. Emperor Yang Chu was extremely shocked. At the same time, the entire true ancestor realm felt it. Not only in Tianjiang continent, but hundreds of millions of miles away, people in the world can still feel the shocking fluctuations coming from there. What's going on? What did those demon clans do in Tianjiang continent? It can't be that group of monsters. This kind of aura is so terrifying, I even feel it surpasses the supreme evil corpse that was born in the past few days. Over there, but where something weird happened between the Yang clan and the Zhang clan, could something go wrong? All the major forces are discussing it hotly. All the major immortal ancient clans were even more alarmed. There has been a change in the place where the Yang and Zhang clans worshipped the world. Quick, send someone to investigate immediately, and at the same time, report to the ancestors. The head of the Ning family spoke immediately and paid great attention to it. The Yang clan and the Zhang clan, braved the disdain of the world, went against the will of heaven, and insisted on sacrificing the world, causing great chaos. Now this kind of atmosphere appears again, you have to go and see. The Zhang family also immediately sent out troops. And in the sky above the divine state of sacrifice to the world, the temple of sacrifice to the world is actively manifesting at this moment. In the temple of sacrifice to the world, tens of thousands of rays of light were emitted, falling down, and the 9 Dharma Avenue appeared, and the scene was shocking. What happened to the temple of sacrifice? Is it possible that a big shot in the ultimate temple will appear and preach to the world? Or maybe someone has cultivated the 9 Dharma and reached the ultimate state? Otherwise, how could it alarm the world sacrifice temple? The cultivators of the world sacrifice divine state are all speculating. But in the temple, all the ultimates were shocked at this moment. What situation actually triggered the active manifestation of the temple of sacrifice? Zhang Shanjin's expression was extremely surprised. It's Tianjiang continent, the 7 divine rainbows make me unable to even look at them. Wu Jiandao spoke with difficulty and said, over there is something that can activate the 9 laws and the temple of sacrifice, and something with a status much higher than mine has been born. Hearing this, all the ultimates were shocked in their hearts. They all feel the same way. Could it be the legendary emergence of 10,000 ways? At this time, Chang Sun Changqing spoke solemnly and said, according to the Old Testament, if the ultimate sacrifice is made to the world, then various avenues will appear in the world. The path of the 9 Dharma will be directly presented to the world's creatures, and all creatures can easily embark on the road. This is a secret about the 9 dharmas. As long as the ultimate person in the world's sacrifice temple performs sacrifices to the world according to the 9 laws at the same time, then all the ways in the world will emerge, and under the promotion of the 9 laws, all the people in the true ancestor realm will be on the road. No. The method of sacrificing the world is simply a liar. Ningtianji shouted loudly and said. Those 2 idiots Yang Daomei and Zhang Yunzheng have become strange and do not exist in this world. They have failed in their sacrifice to the world. How could the legendary scene of the emergence of 10,000 ways appear? He doesn't believe it. Whether we believe it or not, we cannot sit idly by. Ji Wolo said in a deep voice. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of the eventuality. Even if 10,000 paths are not emerging, it can trigger the active manifestation of the world's sacrifice temple, which means that the things over there must be related to the 9 dharma and the one at the end of 10,000 paths. If someone gets the complete 9 dharma from it, it will be a disaster. When he said this, everyone felt even more shocked. It should be noted that after they became the ultimates, in order to cut off the path for those who came after them, they collected and monopolized the 9 methods of the end of 10,000 paths that were originally spread throughout the world. Today, they are the only ones in the world who know how to practice the complete 9 methods. This is also the prerequisite to ensure their supreme status and supreme glory. If the 9 dharmas are leaked, other practitioners in the world may also become ultimate practitioners. Moreover, if there are more ultimate people like Zhang Yunzheng and Yang Daomei, and they really follow the Old Testament method of sacrificing the world, how should they deal with it? Therefore, they will never allow the 9 laws to be leaked. Lockdown, must be locked down immediately. Zhang Shanjin spoke in a cold voice. The messenger clan, ask them to dispatch immediately, and no one is allowed to approach that area. Wu Qiandao also spoke immediately. Ji Wolo nodded and said. In addition, the people from the Grey Mist Sea are coming soon. I have arranged that the 9 immortal ancient clans will guide public opinion in the near future to reduce the world's hostility towards the people coming from the Grey Mist and ensure their safety. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 915. Brother Ning. Everyone in the sacrifice temple had already left, but Ji Wolo stopped Ningtianji. Ningtianji stayed and said. Brother Ji, what's wrong? Ji Wolo said. Don't forget, we still have to catch the mole. Hearing these words, Ningtianji raised his eyebrows slightly, a flash of anger flashed in his eyes, and said in a deep voice. Catch the mole? Who is the mole? He was a little angry because, following the clues given by Changsun Changqing, he actually went to investigate. As a result, among the geniuses from all races who went to the demonic wasteland last time, only 3 from the Ji family came back, and the rest of the geniuses from all races were dead. So now, he already has opinions and doubts about Ji Wolo, in his heart. Ji Wolo said. Didn't I say that? Changsun Changqing, Wu Jindao. Either one of these 2 people is a mole, or both of them are moles. Ningtianji tried and said. Brother Ji, how do you check what you mean? Ji Wolo narrowed his eyes and said. This time, the inner ghost will definitely notify the 3 traitors to go. Even the inner ghost will help his descendants and get the 9 dharma from them. I plan to ask my descendants to bring a fake copy of the 9 methods and leak the news. Ningtianji said, do you want to, fish? Ji Wolo nodded and said. If we don't find out the traitor, we won't be able to do things with peace of mind. Soon, Ningtianji left. Back at the retreat, Changsun Changqing was waiting for him as always. Brother Ning, this time, we must be careful to guard against moles. Changsun Changqing spoke solemnly and said. I am going to let my descendants bring out a fake copy of the 9 methods. Ningtianji was immediately shocked and couldn't help but said. Why are you exactly the same as Ji Wulu? Changsun Changqing was suddenly startled and said. Brother Ji, are you planning to do the same? Ning Tianji nodded. After these few times, he had begun to trust Changsun Changqing, and immediately said. He is also planning to have someone bring the fake 9 methods there and then go fishing. Changsun Changqing thought for a while and said. Brother Ji and I have similar views. Brother Ning, who is the undercover this time, may be revealed soon. We'll see. After leaving, Changsun Changqing quietly sent out a secret message. There is a sudden change in Tianjiang continent, and something related to the end of 10,000 paths and the 9 laws is about to be born. Make sure Ji Wuden gets the fake 9 methods. Now. In the starry sky outside the magic wilderness, 2 old men were sitting and drinking. Astonishingly, it was the eldest grandson, Ji Wuden. Old Ji, what are you going to do to beat a dog when you have nothing to do? Chang Sun Bu Letin me threw the spear aside and complained while drinking. I messed with such a big, cheating black dog. Damn it, it bit me twice, and it hasn't grown back yet. Ji Wuden also gritted his teeth and said. Who knew that bitch was so vindictive? I beat it 3 times, but it bit me 3 times. It didn't matter if it bit me 3 times, it also bit you and Lao Wu, it's really dark. They all hate it. Lao Wu finally stood up, became the ultimate, and killed the Grey Mist strongman. It was so fierce. His eggs should have grown too. Changsun Bumi opened his mouth and said. I wonder how he is recovering from his injuries now, he has killed so many Grey Mist warriors, and his record is unbelievable. Ji Wuden also said with emotion. Lao Wu has great courage. When I see him in the future, I have to call him Wu Ultimate. At this moment, Changsun Bumi suddenly sensed something and said immediately. Not good. He immediately spoke and said. I just got the news, in Tianjiang continent, there are 7 mysterious white rainbows appearing on the other side of the world's sacrifice mountain, shocking the world. It is possible that it is related to the one at the end of 10,000 paths and the 9 laws Old Testament. Hearing this, Ji Wuden was also shocked. We must go. Changsun Bumi also nodded. At the same time, he hesitated and said. Brother Ji, I might have to wrong you a little if I go there this time. Ji Wuden said doubtfully. How to say? Changsun Bumi said. Your ancestor began to doubt my ancestor. Your ancestor took a fake 9 methods and wanted to test the inner ghost. In order to protect my ancestors, I may have to trouble you to take those 9 techniques and practice them. When Ji Wuden heard this, he was stunned. What the hell? However, after thinking for a moment, he gritted his teeth and said. Back then, my ancestors used the fake 9 methods to trick me. Damn it, as long as I can trick my ancestors to death, I will fight. The Visitors' Hall. Kijhendo Lao, these are the details of what happened in Tianjiang continent. Huihe and other elders stood respectfully in front of Du Lao and presented a crystal. After the sudden change in Tianjiang continent, they went to Tianjiang continent as quickly as possible to investigate, and even used crystals to record the situation of the 7 white rainbows. These 7 white rainbows are of extremely high status and seem to surpass those on the road. Huihe opened his mouth and said. We originally thought that this level of existence could not be recorded, but we never thought that we could actually record it with crystals. There was a touch of unexpected joy in his words. Du Lao glanced at the thing in the crystal and said coldly. These 7 white rainbows are related to the 9 laws. And the 9 laws were originally meant for everyone in the world to see. So it's not surprising that it can be recorded. When he said this, Huihe and others suddenly realized. I see. After all, the one at the end of 10,000 paths can be called truly selfless. He created the 9 Dharma back then, but it spread throughout the world. Whether he is a beggar or a king, whether he is rich or poor, whether he is an ant or an eagle. All spirits in the world can practice the 9 Dharma. Therefore, things related to the 9 Dharmas can be read by everyone in the world. Otherwise, can and use crystals to record this level? Ordinary people would even be blinded if they took just one look at it. I will pass the things in this crystal to the grey mist sea. This thing is related to the 9 Dharma. Maybe, the other side can use this thing to break through the backhand of 10,000 paths and. Du Lao took the crystal and left. Soon. The other side of the abyss. The dense foggy sea of grey fog. There is new news coming from the forbidden visitor. Something related to the end of 10,000 paths has been born. A message rang out. Suddenly, all scarlet eyes were paying attention. Could it be that he's behind Wandeo ending? Probably. News related to the end of 10,000 paths must be presented to your lords immediately. Immediately, the strong man who received the news from the Forbidden One immediately went to the depths of the grey mist sea. Shortly after, in a grey pool, many overlord-level creatures were awakened again. What happened again? Why did you wake me up again? These creatures were all asking angrily. The overlord of the three-winged ferocious deer clan, Liu Bie, appeared above the pool and landed. He held a crystal in his hand and said, "Everyone, over there in the true ancestor realm, something related to the end of 10,000 paths has been born." The backhand she left may have surfaced. Hearing this, many overlord creatures in the grey pool were suddenly shocked. The end of 10,000 paths. That woman. What's the backhand she left behind? They all asked solemnly. Liu Bie took out a piece of crystal and said, "This is the news from the true ancestor realm. 7 white rainbows soared into the sky from Tianjian continent in the true ancestor realm, causing the cloth sacrifice temple left by the woman to manifest." It seemed that the true meaning of the 9 Dharma was flowing. For a moment, the eyes of all overlord-level creatures fell on the crystal. In the crystal, there is a picture. 7 white rainbows, their power is astonishing. No. These 7 white rainbows are like a chess move. Suddenly, an overlord-level creature spoke. He knew the art of chess quite well and said, "It seems like a chess game." Hearing this, all living beings became stunned. "I think we should summon all the chess masters to come here immediately." Yes, since the backhand left by Wandeo ending is related to the chess game, it would be best to find them to crack it. They all started making suggestions. Liu Bie also nodded and said, "I think so too. I will immediately contact the strongest chess overlords in the grey mist sea." Suddenly, messages were sent out from the grey pool and spread throughout the grey fog sea. The backhand left behind at the end of 10,000 roads is just a game of chess. We need to find the chess overlords in the grey fog sea to crack it. What, that's actually the case. Grey mist sea was shocked. At the same time, many overlord-level creatures emerged from the grey fog sea. Yuan Qi sect, the 2 chess overlords known as Tiangang and Disha set out. Thousand Stars Sea, the 3 senior chess masters of the Luogui clan, have set off huge waves from the sea, claiming to break the chess game to the end of Wandeo. He Shashan, a chess overlord who once killed 13 strongest players in one game, senior Heiju, also came out of the retreat, and the black chess line was shocking. For a moment, the grey mist sea was shaken. Finally, after confirmation and statistics from all parties, this time, a total of 10 chess overlords appeared. Grey mist sea, the 10 most famous chess overlords, want to break the game of 10,000 ways to the end. I was on a business trip and forgot to bring my laptop charging cable. It exploded. I have published all 2 chapters. I'll update tomorrow to see if it's going to happen. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 916. Somewhere in the grey mist sea. The grey source energy was so rich that it turned into a liquid, and then formed into gray source crystals, forming a gray crystal mountain. On the top of the gray crystal mountain, there is a gray palace. The entire palace seemed to be picked out from a huge gray source stone. Although it was gray, it did not lose its texture. Above the palace, there are also mysterious ciphers, which are runes belonging to terrifying races such as time and space bugs and world-stealing demon rats. Being in this palace, you can hide away from the space, and you can also get the secret of time. During these 10 years, the outside world is only one day. Of course, every time you open the secret palace of time and space, you have to pay a heavy price, so this place will not be opened lightly until an important moment. In the palace, there is a gray source pool in the center, surrounded by overlord-level creatures. Everyone, this is the crystal passed from the real concession. Liu Ba took out the crystal and waved his hand, and the crystal floated over the pool. Everyone looked towards the crystal. The scene in the crystal was instantly projected out. It was a piece of land, and among the ruins, there were actually 7 shocking white rainbows rising through the sun, filling the sky with energy, which was extremely astonishing. What an amazing smell! How can there be such a level of qi in the true ancestor realm? It is far more than the 4 views. Could it be Tianzun? It's possible that he's still above Tianzun. For a moment, everyone in the hall spoke one after another. Although it is only a scene recorded in the crystal, people can still feel the amazing energy. Haha, in the entire true ancestor realm, the only one who can leave such a handwriting, is the woman at the end of 10,000 paths. An old man spoke. He was wearing a robe with criss-crossing chess lines on it. He is the old chess overlord from Haisha Mountain, Heiju. Yes, these 7 rainbow lights have indeed formed a chess game. This chess game is very terrifying. It can be called the most terrifying game I have ever seen in my life. The Tiangang overlord of the Yuankai sect looked extremely solemn at this moment, his eyelids were twitching slightly, and he said, although there are only 7 suns, there are at least a dozen changes in these 7 suns. Each one is extremely complicated and as vast as the stars in the sky. The chess power at the end of the world is too terrifying. Next to him, an old turtle also nodded and said, indeed, the numerous changes in the chess game are condensed into 7 pieces. This 7-piece chess game can indeed be said to be the best chess game in the world. The end of 10,000 paths. Even though she is an enemy, I have to admit that her chess skills will definitely shock the ancients and the present. After just a glance, the top 10 chess masters were all very solemn. They even felt a sense of awe towards the one at the end of the world. Haha, it's just something left by a dead man. Heiju, the old overlord of Haisha Mountain, stood up and said, since this chess game is her backup move, then we only need to destroy the true ancestor realm, and there will no longer be a threat. We are all chess masters. If we work together to deduce it, I don't believe it. We can't break her chess game. Hearing this, others also nodded. Her era is over. How can we be weaker than her? Immediately, the 10 overlords began to work together to crack the 7-piece chess game. The entire Grey Mist Sea is paying attention. I heard that the backhand left behind by 10,000 paths end is a chess game, and the top 10 chess overlords are trying to crack it. On one day in the outside world, 10 years have passed in the secret palace of time and space. Based on this time, the 10 overlords have been in the secret palace of time and space for a year. No news, no idea about the progress. There is a lot of talk in the world. Soon. In the 2nd year of the secret palace of time and space, the Disha overlord has come out, and he was carried out. A piece of news finally came out, causing a big stir in an instant. What? The Disha overlord was carried out? What happened? Did something unexpected happen? Many people were surprised. Extremely concerned. Soon, a piece of news spread from the secret palace of time and space. According to the news, the part of the chess game that the Disha overlord speculated was too complicated. He thought hard and couldn't figure it out. He eventually fell into a coma, so he had to be carried out. As soon as this news came out, everyone in the Grey Mist Sea was even more shocked. Is the chess game left behind by the one at the end of 10,000 paths so powerful? The Disha overlord is one of the two overlord chess players of Yuan Qi section. In this world, can there actually be a chess game that makes him work so hard that he faints? Everyone in the world thinks it's a bit incredible. But, then, in the third year of the secret palace of time and space, an old turtle from the negative Kilo turtle clan was carried out again. It was bleeding from both ears. It is said to be very miserable. This news is amazing. What, the overlord of the Luagui clan who lost chess actually ended up like this? What's going on? Everyone is paying attention. It's still a problem with the chess game. The overlord of the Luagui clan who lost the game thought he had cracked that part of the chess game, but in the end, he trapped himself to death and almost went crazy in the end. Rumors continue to leak out of the secret palace of time and space. This news caused a sensation again. Is this chess game so difficult? 2 years have passed in the secret palace of time and space, and it still hasn't been solved. Not only was there no crack, but the two chess overlords were carried out. The one at the end of 10,000 paths, is the chess game left behind so difficult? Many people were very shocked. But, then, one after another, the chess masters were brought out one after another. Tiangang overlord, bleeding from all 7 orifices, the day he was taken out, he was smiling like a fool, as if he was crazy. Another overlord of the negative chess Luagui clan, the Tiandao chess shell he was carrying cracked. I don't know what happened. In the next few years, one after another among the 10 overlords, some were carried out. The secret palace of time and space has reached its 9th year. The only ones who still insist on staying in the secret palace of time and space are an overlord of the Luagui clan and Heiju, the old overlord of Haishishan. Ah! A shrill scream rang out from it. The overlord of the Luagui clan was exhausted and fell into death. He was carried out for rescue. That woman at the end of 10,000 paths. Is she so scary? In 9 years, 9 chess overlords failed one after another. Only the black overlord is left. Is there any hope? Everyone was more and more shocked. In the past, they had only heard of the reputation of the end of 10,000 paths, but no one knew how terrifying the end of 10,000 paths was. Until now, I have seen that 9 overlords, after 9 years of hard work, can't even crack the chess game they left behind. People in the world deeply feel why the end of 10,000 paths is called the end of 10,000 paths. Now, all the 9 chess overlords have been defeated. This kind of record makes many powerful people in the Grey Mist Sea feel a little disappointed. Many people are even desperate. Can this chess game still be solved? I think Xuanhuan ending is too strong. Many people are whispering. Could it be that we can't crack it? 10 overlords took action and spent 10 years, but they couldn't break her back. Wait. Liu Ba and many other overlords were also paying close attention nervously. Ha ha ha, I cracked it, I cracked it. On this day, in the secret palace of time and space, a burst of wild laughter finally sounded. It's Black Zetsu's voice. Hearing this voice, many overlords waiting outside the secret palace of time and space instantly became excited. Has it been cracked? How? Black Zetsu succeeded. They watched nervously. Finally, the door to the secret palace of time and space was opened. Black Jew walked out of it. He was holding a chessboard in his hand, with a smile on his face and drool flowing from his mouth. His head was completely bald, with only a few sparse white hairs left. When he entered the secret palace of time and space, he looked heroic and extraordinary, but now, he is described as embarrassed and his appearance has become wretched and ugly. Everyone couldn't help but shuddered. Heiju actually made himself look like this. I have cracked the formation disc, reconstructed the killing formation. Ha ha ha, after 10 years, God will not let me down. But Heiju laughed ferociously. When everyone heard this, they were immediately surprised. Brother Heijudeo, invincible. The overlord of chess is well deserved. At the same time, the other chess overlords such as Tiangang and Disha also gathered together. Heiju showed the array he had worked so hard for everyone to admire and said, "This array can break through 10,000 final 7-piece chess games, and it can also form its own set of great killing arrays. I call it the 10 killing array." Tiangang overlord took a breath of air and said, "Indeed, it was successful. All 14 variations of the 7-piece chess formation have been cracked." His eyes were full of admiration and he said, "Brother Heiju, you are awesome." Sure enough, all the 14 variations of the 7-piece chess formation were broken, and a killing formation was formed. It can be said that it is invincible under the taboo. Although we failed, Brother Heijudeo can succeed, great. Many chess overlords were surprised and admired. Heiju was extremely proud. He looked at Liu Ba and others and said, "Brother Liu, I have destroyed the backhand of 10,000 roads end. Now, we only need to send a few people to the true ancestor realm with this formation disc. In front of the 7 white rainbows, and activate this formation disc, we can break the 7-piece chess formation. At the same time, you can also refine another major killing formation to kill all the enemies you want to kill." He is extremely confident. Liu Ba was also filled with excitement and said, "Brother Heiju, the backhand who can break through 10,000 points, you are invincible in chess. This is the best skill in the world." The other overlords were also very impressed and spoke one after another. The myth of the end of all paths is ended today. Haha, what is the end of the world? Before our sea of grey mist, we are just ants. She was defeated after all. Liu Ba was thinking and said, "Now that her backhand has been broken, we should send someone over." An overlord next to him suggested, "Well, I remember those ancestors who followed Wan Dao Dingman to the true ancestor realm back then. How many of them were inherited in the Grey Mist Sea? Let their descendants go over, find them, trick them into killing them, and kill them. This way, it's safer." Hearing this, many overlords also nodded. They speculated that Demon Ancestor, Cao Ancestor, and others should also be related to the backhand of Wandao ending. Nowadays, the 10-kill formation, which has been condensed with the efforts of the 10 overlords, can not only break the chess game with 10,000 ending points, but also form a set of big killing formations. It is not necessary, it is a waste. Okay, just let the descendants of Qi Ancestor, Cao Ancestor, and Qi Ancestor pass. However, at this moment, an overlord said. However, the people we send there can only reach the Spirit King level at present. According to the news, after Tianyuan, there is a great wall of bones in the true ancestor realm, which is guarded by experts. In case it fails. Liu Ba smiled and said, "Don't worry, the forbidden visitors and the 9 immortal ancient clan will solve this small matter, and our people will definitely be able to travel unimpeded." At the same time, true ancestor realm, martial wasteland, dead man wasteland, small mountain village. In the small courtyard, the warm winter sun rises slowly. Although it does not bring much warmth, it makes people feel more comfortable. After Li Fan finished washing, Gong Ya brought breakfast. He served some to Xiao Bai, and then ate slowly. "The great demon king, I understand." At this time, Yun 11 walked out of the room and said excitedly, "You have lost 7 sons, and there are a total of 28 changes. The first 14 are just introductions. It is obvious that the last 14 contain the real mystery, right? As soon as she got up today, she saw the chess game she played with Li Fan yesterday. Li Fan lost 7 sons, and she understood it at a glance. There were 28 changes in them. When Li Fan heard this, he raised his eyes and smiled slightly, quite satisfied, and said, "Good. But have you ever thought that the 7th son is like this? But what about the 8th son? Where's Jose? Meow, I'm so tired. The owner was so careless that he didn't bring a charger. I had to help him code at home. Woohoo, I really want to eat cat food. Forget it, let's write another chapter. This careless master, meow meow meow, my cat's paws hurt so much." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 917. True Ancestor Realm. The Forbidden Organization. There's news from over there. Du Lao appeared in the Bone Hall, and he smiled conspiratorially. In the Grey Mist Sea, it has been determined that the 7 rainbow lights from Tianjiang continent are the backup force for 10,000 Dao's End. And, now they have cracked it? Hearing this, Hui and others were shocked. The 7 rainbow lights are really the backup man of 10,000 Paths End. Great, after cracking the backhand of 10,000 Dao's End, there will be no more opponents from the Grey Mist Sea in this world. Everyone was very happy. In the next few days, people will be sent over from the Grey Mist Sea. Du Lao said. You must ensure that they pass through the Great Wall of Bones smoothly, and don't let the cultivators of the true ancestor realm block their plans. Hui nodded and said. I'll contact the World Sacrifice Temple immediately. The Temple of Sacrifice to the World. There's news. Ji Wulu raised his eyes and said. Grey Mist Sea is about to send someone over. We must cooperate. Ning Tianji said. But, what should we do? The Grey Mist Sea and the True Ancestor Realm are feuding. The creatures over there will arouse public outrage if they come over openly. Ji Wulu said calmly. Public outrage. Public outrage can also be channeled. As long as this is so, and so. After listening, many ultimates in the field couldn't help but nod. Soon, in the True Ancestor Realm. Grey Mist Sea will send someone over soon. There are rumors claiming that they are doves in the Grey Fog Sea. They love peace and want to discuss methods with us to avoid war. This is a good thing. A fight will not be beneficial to either side. These messages appeared out of nowhere, as if someone was pushing them, and soon became the focus of public opinion, triggering heated discussions among the people. Opinion leaders quickly emerged among the people. An old man stood up to represent the hardliners and claimed that he could never reconcile with the sea of grey fog and that he could not forget his hatred. He won a lot of support from the world. Immediately afterwards, other people with status appeared, claiming to cherish peace, not because they hate the Grey Mist Sea, even with the friendly people in the Grey Mist Sea. They should not even hate, but should think about why there is war. Work towards peace. The two sides were quarreling fiercely, and supporters of both parties started a shouting match. Soon, a respected senior from the 9 ancient immortal clans came forward and suggested that there would be no harm in getting in touch first. This suggestion was immediately supported by representatives from both sides. Public opinion also calmed down under the guidance. Those who released Grey Fog Sea came first, and it soon became a consensus. Haha, it's really simple. No matter how many stupid ants there are, we can only lead them by the nose. Within the 9 ancient immortal clans, some powerful people whispered proudly. Of course, ordinary people don't know that whether they are representatives who advocate toughness or senior experts who advocate peace, they are actually just dogs raised by us. It's ridiculous. Those ants who argue every day to express their opinions think they have succeeded, but they don't know they are just being used by us. Let these dogs bark and consume the energy of the people. In the end, we will come out and pretend to be good people, gain a reputation, and achieve our goal. It's too simple. The driving force behind the scenes is already celebrating. At the same time, the 9 ancient immortal clans directly represented the opinions of the so-called all people in the Xuanhuan ancestral realm and put pressure on the Great Wall on the border. They were asked to let the friendly people in the Sea of Grey Fog enter the true ancestor realm without blocking them. The Great Wall of Bones on the border. The cold wind is biting and there are many soldiers standing there. Looking towards the direction of Xuanhuan, the old man looked at the letter in his hand. The letter was jointly written by the 9 ancient immortal clans. Haha, this is our rear. A sad look appeared on the old man's face and he said, the bones of the martyrs fill the abyss of heaven, and the living warriors are more willing to throw their heads and blood to protect their homeland and country. However, in this world, there are so many weaklings who sell their ancestors for appearance, manipulate people's hearts, play with power, and want to be dogs in the grey mist sea. He severely crushed the letter in his hand into pieces. General, we must not let the enemy come over. Behind him, Chen Xiaoming, one of the 18 swordsmen of the Chen clan, said with anger in his eyes. This great wall of bones is made of the corpses of enemies. In the past, the one at the end of 10,000 paths, the 10 too fierce ones, fought to the last breath in order to protect the ancestral realm. Not even the bones could be left behind. Turn into light and fill the abyss of the sky. How can we descendants see the mountains and rivers they forged with blood allow the enemy to easily step on? I, Chen Xiaoming, are not convinced. We, the 18 swordsmen of the Chen clan, are not convinced, and we, the good men who are willing to die protecting the Great Wall, are not convinced. He clenched the sword in his hand and almost roared. However, the old man was silent for a long time. There was something crystal clear in his old eyes, a sad crystal. He shook his head and said, no. We have no choice. I can only let it go. Chen Xiaoming said, General. The old general said, now the back of the true ancestor realm has been completely controlled by the 9 immortal ancient clans. If we don't let it go, haha, how will they throw dirty water on us? Destroyed the peace and triggered a war? They will blame the Great Wall guards. He glanced at the fragments of the letter on the ground and said sadly, people in the world are too easily fooled. When the time comes, no one will be grateful for your desperate protection. They will only hate you for destroying the peace they dream of and bringing disaster to them. As a sword bearer and a guardian, sometimes you will not be praised, but hated. This is fate. Chen Xiaoming's face tightened and he gritted his teeth and said, we don't need praise, we don't need recognition. The old general shook his head and said, you don't need it, but I am your general. I can't just watch you risk your life to protect your home and country, and then be insulted and tainted by others. There is no such truth in this world. The decisive battle has not come yet, stay alive and wait for the final battle. The old general's words almost came out in anger. 3 days later. In the abyss of heaven, on the bridge of light. The figure is graceful. The people from the Grey Fog Sea, are here. The northern border of the true ancestor realm. Today's Great Wall of Bones is particularly lively. In addition to the Great Wall guards, people from many forces in the true ancestor realm behind the Great Wall also arrived. There are people from the 9 ancient immortal clans. Today is the day agreed between the 9 ancient immortal clans and the other side of the Grey Mist Sea. Although the 9 ancient immortal clans have put pressure on the Great Wall to agree to release the creatures from the Grey Mist Sea, they are still worried, so they personally sent people to greet and escort them. Winter is coming soon. This Great Wall of Bones is really cold. It makes the original energy a little sluggish. In the garrison stone city behind the Great Wall, the heads of the 9 ancient immortal clans have arrived and are in a large hall. Haha, the great general of the Great Wall Guards, Qi Tiangang, doesn't seem to be very sensible. We have been here for so long, but he has not even offered us a cup of enlightenment tea, nor has he come to see us. A middle-aged man spoke displeasedly. He was a strong man from the Wu clan, Wu Jiangan. Wu Jiangan is a door-level strong man. Red Tiangang is just like a stone in a latrine, smelly and hard. Another strong man also spoke. He was the one who opened the door to the Ning family, Ning Yuanzhu. Don't worry, our goal now is to let the distinguished guests from the Grey Mist Sea pass through Tianyuan safely, those Great Wall Guards, as long as they don't cause any trouble for us. The other old man spoke calmly and calmly. He is the one who opened the door to the Ji family, Ji Wuming. His realm was slightly higher than that of Ning Yuanzhu and Wu Jiangan, so after he opened his mouth, they both stopped talking. Well, it's almost noon. Let's leave the city and go to Tianyuan to wait for the distinguished guests. Ji Wuming spoke. According to the agreement, people from the Grey Mist Sea will come at noon. To show the solemnity, even the 3 of them who opened the door had to go and greet them in person. Immediately, the members of the 3 major families all left the city and headed towards Tianyuan in good order. On the Great Wall of Bones, on a beacon tower, an old man in white robes was watching the scene expressionlessly. In the past, the martyrs went to meet the enemy and die, but now it is a solemn ceremony, and they are afraid that the other side of the Grey Mist Sea will not be happy. Chen Xiaoming gritted his teeth tightly and said, "What a shame." In front of him, the old man in white robes, Qi Tiangang, the general of the Great Wall Guards, shook his head and said, "The people in the true ancestor realm have not yet awakened. Wait. Meow, I barely finished the update. I'm so hungry. I've finished eating the freeze-dried food. The owner has no money to buy it for me. I feel so sad. I can only eat some whole grains. By the way, Mion. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert." Author, Gui Xian. Chapter 918. Soon. Ji Wuming and others appeared in front of Tianyuan. Is this the bridge that was exchanged for the bones of those 6 people? Seeing the light bridge across the 2 worlds in the abyss, Ning Yuanzhu was a little disdainful and said, "A group of corpses who have died long ago dare to act arrogantly, but now they can only remain silent and let others trample on them." He harbored hatred towards the 6 supreme beings whose bones filled the abyss. Because, their ancestor Ning Tianji. He was beaten several times in a row. Don't worry about a bunch of dead people. Wu Jiangan smiled and said, 10 saints and 2 villains are just a bunch of ridiculous people. Back then, they clearly had the opportunity to join the Grey Mist Sea, but they insisted on being stubborn and regarded sacrifice as an honor. They were just self-motivated. Who will remember them in future generations? Ji Wuming, at this moment, suddenly raised his eyes and said, "Coming." Suddenly, everyone paid attention. I saw a group of grey mist creatures walking through the light bridge. They turned into human forms, and there were more than a dozen of them. At first glance, they were all young men and women. The women were graceful, and the men were very handsome. The skin of this group of grey mist creatures was originally grey, but now they were actually wearing rouge and gouache, dressing up like people from the true ancestor realm, looking radiant. "Welcome, friends of grey mist. Welcome, friends of grey mist." Immediately, Ji Wuming and others bowed deeply. On the light bridge, a group of grey mist creatures walked down the light bridge as if they were walking on flat ground. The leader was a young man in green clothes. He smiled slightly and said, "Are you from the 9 ancient immortal clans?" Ji Wuming stepped forward and said, "Young Master Kijhen, that's right. I'm from the Ji clan, Ji Wuming. These 2 are Wu Jiangan from the Wu clan and Ning Yuanzhu from the Ning clan." Wu Jiangan and Ning Yuanju also immediately stepped forward to salute. They have all seen that among this line of grey mist creatures, the strongest one is only in the Spirit King realm and has never opened the door. Today's Tianyuan can only accommodate creatures of this level to pass through. But even so, they, who were regarded as Taishan Baidu in the true ancestor realm, bowed and were extremely respectful in front of these young people from the Grey Mist Sea. The 9 ancient immortal clans are all people who keep their promises. The young man in Tsingyi smiled and said, "On the other side of the Grey Mist Sea, we are already looking for suitable places for your families to live. Once Tianyuan is completely reconnected, your families can all move to the Grey Mist Sea. You will definitely be satisfied." Hearing this, Ji Wuming and the others were even more excited. "By the way, my name is Qi Fenglin, and these are all my companions. Qing Shenglan, she is the spiritual king of the Chaos Magic Grass clan." Following Qi Fenglin's introduction, a woman in a green skirt walked out and smiled. "Shi Xian, the most outstanding rising star of Chaos Dafan Temple, his name of compassion is known to everyone in the Grey Fog Sea." Another young monk in grey cassocks also came forward at this moment, with a faint smile on his face, as if he was very kind. "The rest are also the elites of our powerful clans." Qi Fenglin finished his introduction. "Everyone, you are really like gods. It has opened our eyes. Where can we find such talents like you in the true ancestor realm?" Ji Wuming spoke flatteringly and said, "Please follow us and cross the Great Wall of Bones to the true ancestor realm." Immediately, the ceremony was in order, the rituals and music were singing, and the ceremony was extremely grand. Not long after, they arrived at the Great Wall of Bones. This Great Wall. Qing Shenglin looked at the Great Wall of Bones, a coldness flashed in his eyes, and said, "I feel the corpse of one of our ancestors, it is buried here." Monk Shi Xian also shook his head and said, "The woman at the end of 10,000 paths is too cruel and bloody. How could she have the heart to kill so many extraordinary people? Her sins are heinous." There were guards on both sides of the Great Wall. Hearing this, one of the guards couldn't help roaring and said, "What did you say?" The soldier drew his sword directly, stared at Shi Xian, and said, "How dare you insult the heroes of our true ancestor realm here?" Shi Xian's expression remained unchanged, he smiled slightly and said, "This is not an insult. The young monk is just stating the fact that the person at the end of 10,000 paths has no cultivation, but his vision is too narrow and his courage is too small. At best, he is just a powerful villain." The surrounding soldiers couldn't bear it any longer. A leader came out with a sword and said coldly, "Do you really think you can run wild here? This leader is one of the Chen clan's 18 swords, Chen Feng. Get back." At this moment, Ji Wuming, the person from the Ji clan who opened the door, spoke coldly and said, "If you dare to show your sword in front of distinguished guests, are you seeking death? You have ruined the peace plan between the Grey Mist Sea and the true ancestor realm. You will never be redeemed until death." Chen Feng said in a deep voice, "Senior Ji, you are also from the true ancestor realm, and you are also under the shadow of the one at the end of 10,000 paths these people from the Sea of Grey Mist actually dare to insult, who is destroying the peace." Ji Wuming said coldly, "Different people have different views on the one who is at the end of 10,000 paths." Master Shi Xian just looks at the problem from a different perspective. "It is not an insult. Put away your sword, otherwise, I will let you die without a burial place." His cultivation as the one who opened the door has been lightly released. Chen Feng's expression changed, but he clenched his sword tightly, his fighting spirit aroused. "Chen Feng, put your sword away." At this time, Qi Tiangong's words came faintly. He didn't know when, but he had already arrived at the venue. "General." Chen Feng was not angry. "It's just a few clowns. Killing them will only dirty your sword." Qi Tiangang spoke calmly. Hearing this, Ji Wuming immediately looked at Qi Tiangang coldly and said, "Who are you calling a clown? How dare you disrespect the distinguished guests of Grey Mist Sea?" Qi Tiangong's eyes were cold and he said, "You are wrong. The clowns I'm talking about are you. These people in the Grey Mist Sea? They are just pigs and dogs waiting to be slaughtered." Upon hearing this, Ji Wuming, Ning Yuanzhu and others immediately became angry and said, "Qi Tiangang, how dare you act so boldly? Do you want to die?" They all asked questions. However, Qi Tiangang just said coldly, "Tick your tails and get out quickly. If you dare to say another word, I will make you unable to leave the Great Wall." He released a wisp of energy vaguely. Suddenly, the expressions of Ji Wuming and the other three people changed drastically. Qi Tiangang became the ultimate. Impossible. How can he be the ultimate? The faces of the three of them were extremely ugly. All this time, Qi Tiangang was just on track. Now actually, they suddenly didn't dare to say anything. Facing the ultimate, unless their ancestors came, they would not be qualified to talk at all. "Master Qi, please." Ji Wuming whispered, asking Qi Fenglan and others to pass through the Great Wall quickly. Before leaving, Qi Fenglan suddenly smiled slightly, looked at Qi Tiangang and said, "Senior is very strong. But there are no less than 300 people starting the journey, just from the sect where this junior belongs." After saying that, he left. People from the 9 ancient immortal tribes have already welcomed the people from the Grey Mist Sea and left. I really want to use my sword to kill these enemies. People from the 9 ancient tribes are actually protecting the enemy, traitors. Hateful, hateful. Chen Feng and others were all gnashing their teeth. But Qi Tiangang thought deeply. Those who are on the road, are there 300 in just one sect? His old face was solemn as never before. "General, maybe this is just an exaggeration to disturb the morale of the army." Chen Xiaoming spoke. Qi Tiangang shook his head and said, "Not necessarily. These young descendants who came from the Grey Mist Sea are not very old, and they have already reached the spiritual king consummation level. They can be said to be ready to open the door, and in the entire true ancestor realm, among the younger generations, is there anyone who can rival them?" Chen Xiaoran was silent. He understood what the general meant. Seeing the big from the small. The young generation in the sea of grey fog is so powerful, but what about the strong older generation? The Grey Mist Sea may be far beyond our imagination. This life is even more cruel. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 919. Past the Great Wall. Several young masters have crossed the Great Wall and left the northern border, which is the 900 continents of the true ancestor realm. Each continent has a territory of hundreds of millions of miles, which is extremely vast. Ji Wuming and others introduced respectfully. "Not far ahead, there is our teleportation array. You can go directly to our clan." Qi Fenglan smiled and said, "Thank you for your kindness. We still have some important things to deal with, so I won't bother you. They just need the 9 immortal ancient clans to escort them through the Great Wall of Bones. Now that it's here, it's naturally no longer needed. After all, what they have to do next is also very secret, and it is impossible for people from the 9 ancient immortal tribes to follow them." Ji Wuming nodded, seemingly not surprised, and said, "Sir, this is the token of our 9 ancient immortal clans. Holding this token, you can mobilize the people of our 9 ancient clans at any time. Make sure that you all have unimpeded access to the true ancestor realm." Qi Fenglan said, "Thank you very much." Immediately, Ji Wuming and others said goodbye and left. "Haha, these ants are indeed very courteous." There was a hint of disdain in Qing Shenglan's eyes. "They still have value." Qi Fenglan smiled and said, The backhand of 10,000 ways end is still valuable even if they are not found out or destroyed, they are still valuable. He didn't say the second half of the sentence. When the 9 ancient immortal clans help them in the Grey Mist Sea and break the situation at 10,000 paths end, then the 9 ancient immortal clans will be worthless. What awaits them, will be destruction. And now, soon. What to do next? Qing Shenglan asked. Qi Fenglan thought. Act according to the plans of the adults in Grey Mist Sea. Find our ancient ancestors first. As he spoke, he took out a black chessboard. There seems to be a supreme chess intention flowing on that chessboard. Qi Fenglan is the descendant of the chess ancestor who lived in the Grey Fog Sea in the past. This chessboard was left by the chess ancestor. I am a descendant of the ancestor of chess. I can find my ancestor by holding the chessboard that he used in the past. Qi Fenglan said. When the time comes, you only need to bring your ancestors to Tianjiang continent. When Kazu and Shizu arrive, I will let them witness the miracle, witness the backhand chess game at the end of 10,000 paths, all of them will be broken, and they, will also be killed. He couldn't help but laugh at this moment and said. At that time, there will be nothing worth fearing in this world. This is their mission this time. They came with the top 10 chess overlords in mind, and they came with the 10 kill formation formed with all their efforts, in order to break through the chess of 10,000 ways and kill their ancestors at the same time. Qi Fenglan is a descendant of the ancestor of chess, while the ancestors of Qing Shenglan and Shi Xian are ancestor Cao and ancestor Shi respectively. They need to find their ancestors and lead them to the Tianjiang continent to kill them. The only thing left by our ancestors in the past is this grass seed. Now this grass seed has gone through the golden age and has already given birth to extraordinary things. Qing Shenglan took out a grass seed and said, I'll go find him. She left immediately. I have sensed Shizu's location. Shi Xian also smiled slightly and took out a relic. This relic is what was left after the failure of Lord Sakyamuni's nirvana, he should be in the Brahma wilderness. After saying that, Shi Xian also left. The rest, Qi Fenglan, also felt silently for a long time. Then, he looked in the direction of Zonghongdao domain. Soon, green winds blew and appears in Xuanhuan. When she stepped into this vast wilderness, she immediately felt a majestic plant essence coming over her. It's Kazu's aura, it's him. Qing Shenglan couldn't help but feel happy. She headed towards the center of Xuanhuan and saw the vast sea of grass like a forest. The strength of the ancestor is so terrifying. Looking at the sea of grass, Qing Shenglan couldn't help but feel a little frightened. In fact, Kazu, who was originally just a grass, got the incredible opportunity to rise to the sky and embark on the ultimate path, so he was named Kazu. Later, it even created the prestigious grass sect in the Sea of Grey Mist. After Kazu left, the Grey Mist Sea experienced a golden era. There were countless people who took the road, but none of those who took the road could create such a terrifying sea of grass. Kazu, are you really just seeing ghosts? Qing Shenglan was a little doubtful. The sea of grass in front of him could at least be compared to meeting an immortal. She took a deep breath, mustered up her courage, and entered the sea of grass. The descendants of King Shenglan, come and pay homage to Master Kazu. She spoke loudly. Deep in the sea of grass, a whisper suddenly came, saying, Descendants. A ray of green light suddenly rushed from the depths and enveloped Qing Shenglan. The next moment, Qing Shenglan suddenly appeared in a huge green grass palace. This palace is made up of many huge green grasses, like giant trees, intertwined and arched. In the green grass palace, dense grass roots gathered here to form a huge bed. There is a man lying on the bed of grass roots. The clothes on this man were made of grass leaves, and the skin all over his body exuded a light blue color, as if he had been soaked in grass liquid all day long. His back, muscles, etc. are even integrated with the thick grass roots. Seeing this man, Qing Shenglan couldn't help being shocked, and immediately knelt down and said, Junior Qing Shenglan is a descendant of the Cao sect and has traveled across the abyss to pay homage to his ancestors. Hearing this, Kazu murmured. The Cao section was not destroyed. As he spoke, he raised his light green eyelids slightly and said, What do you want from me? Qing Shenglan said. Reporting to our ancestors, the Cao section would like to respectfully invite our ancestors to return to the Grey Mist Sea. When Kazu heard this, he couldn't help laughing. Qing Shenglan couldn't help but feel happy. Master Kazu seemed quite happy. However, Cao Zio changed his tone and said coldly, Do you think I'm a fool? Go back. I am a spirit transformed from sacred grass, not a leek. Should I go back and let others cut it? As he said that, he suddenly looked at Qing Shenglan and said, By the way, what kind of plant spirit are you? As he spoke, he raised his hand. Qing Shenglan groaned lowly and couldn't help but transform into a prototype. I saw a green leek suddenly appearing in the green grass hall. Green is better than blue, but it is made from leeks. When Kazu saw it, he immediately became angry and said, Damn, what I hate most is leeks. My Cao sect never accepts leeks as heirs. How did you get in? I'll kill you. He is angry. No, Master Cao Ziu, we are all your descendants. I was not a leek at the beginning. I was originally a pitcher plant, but as I gradually practiced Taoism, I gradually turned into a leek. Now Cao Zone is the strongest. They are all leeks, don't kill me. King Shenglan's wailing voice sounded, and at the same time, 2 leek leaves, like hands, presented a grass seed and said hurriedly, Ancestor, this is the grass seed you left behind in the past. Now it has experienced the golden age. The Cao sect specially asked me to bring it and ask Ancestor to check it out. When Kazu saw the grass seed, he frowned slightly, waved his hand, and the grass seed fell into his hand. Is this the change caused by the great turmoil? Kazu whispered. He left the Grey Mist Sea back then, but he also left something behind. Leave a grass seed there to witness everything that happens next in the Grey Mist Sea. At this moment, the grass seed was in his hand again, and he examined it carefully. Above the grass seeds, countless avenues of energy are circulating, and the source of the grey mist has already become one with the grass seeds, which is extremely extraordinary. The great masters of the Cao sect have said that the day this grass is planted, you will see ghosts directly. Qing Shenglan spoke. Cao Zio said coldly. Plant? Can this kind of grass still be planted? What will be planted may no longer be dogtail grass, but leeks. He has already seen that the grass seed he left behind has been changed. It looks like it is still a grass seed of foxtail grass, but in fact, it will turn into leeks when planted. Maybe the Cao sect is all like this? Will the grass that embarks on the path of practicing spiritual transformation eventually turn into leeks? This is also extremely outrageous. But in the main hall, the green leek plant was greener than blue, but he was startled for a moment. Dogtail grass. Is this the original body of Kazu? She seems to know something. And Cao ancestor suddenly came to his senses, coughed and said, I am just making a metaphor. This grass seed is a seed that goes against the will of heaven. It is definitely not what you imagine. As for returning to the Sea of Grey Mist, needless to say, I don't want to become a leek spirit. He was determined. If he had been willing to turn into a leek and let others harvest him, he would not have followed Wandao ending to the true ancestor realm. Now, a group of vigorously growing giant leeks actually persuaded me to go back. It's crazy, crazy. Qing Shenglan didn't seem too surprised when he heard this, but said, Grandfather Cao, to tell you the truth, on the other side of the Grey Mist Sea, the backhand of Wandao ending has been destroyed. This time, we are not just here to invite you, but more importantly, we want to represent the grey mist sea and break through all the paths to the end of 10,000 paths. Hearing this, Kazu immediately said, destroy all her ways. Just because of the sea of grey mist. He immediately stood up from the giant bed of green grass, and the back muscles connected to the many grass roots immediately returned to normal. He looked just like a normal person, except for a greenish look on his face. He said, come on, let's go. I haven't seen such an arrogant person in years. I have to see how you die. As he spoke, he raised his hand and several huge grass roots immediately dragged the coffin placed in the corner of the giant green grass palace over. Inside this coffin is the evil corpse that Cao Ziu is responsible for guarding, Qingzun. When he goes to the theater, he naturally has to take it with him. Qing Lan. Wangan. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 920. Xuanhuan. A deserted mountain forest, neither graceful nor steep, looks ordinary and uninhabited. In this mountain forest, there is an ancient temple. The ancient temple seems to have been forgotten for countless years. There is no incense. The plaque is crooked, the cobwebs are dense, and dust is everywhere. Even the temple wall has collapsed in half, and the remaining half is covered with vines and cracked. Today, a young monk wearing grey cassocks arrived in front of the temple. He walked into the ancient temple and looked at the environment in the ancient temple with a warm smile on his lips. From the courtyard of the ancient temple, he walked into the main hall where the statues of gods were placed. He saw that in the main hall, which was not spacious, there was only a stone tablet enshrined. Under the stone tablet, there is an old monk who looks like a sculpture, silent, as if he has been sitting there for thousands of years. The young monk Xian came from Dalan Temple in Grey Mist Sea to see Shiziu. He salutes. The old monk was silent. Xian continued. Since the departure of Lord Buddha, the Grey Mist Sea has experienced a golden age. Now Dalan Temple has achieved great success in Buddhism, has countless disciples, and has flourished. It has become the most majestic part of the Grey Mist Sea. But I never thought that ancestor Buddha would be here, living in a dilapidated small temple, guarding a shrine with no one to worship him, suffering the toil of wind and rain. Little monk, I feel very ashamed. I would like to ask Ancestor Shi to return to the Sea of Grey Mist, receive the incense of all spirits, and return to his rightful place. His words are sincere. It was only at this moment that the old monk, who looked like a wood carving, suddenly spoke slowly and said, there are endless disciples, and the incense is flourishing. However, can the Tao of Buddhism survive? Xian was startled when he heard this, but then he said, in the sea of grey fog, no one knows about Shidao. Dalan Temple has pushed Shidao to an unprecedented height. But the old monk shook his head and said, what is Shidao? Xian said, compassion, letting go, emptiness, detachment. The old monk said, well said, have you done it? Xian nodded and said, in Dalan Temple, there are countless eminent monks and great virtues, all of whom have achieved great success. Although the junior monks have not yet achieved great enlightenment, they are still trying their best to do so. The old monk smiled and said, so thick-skinned. Release. The old monk said, I have seen all over the world and experienced countless lifetimes, and I have seen only a few truly compassionate people. But, they are all dead. What's left behind are just people who deceive the world and steal their reputation. The more prosperous the Dalan Temple is, the more believers it has, and the more glorious it is, the farther away it is from the true Taoism. Although you are wearing cassocks, you are already demons and you don't know it. The old monk shook his head. Xian's face looked a little ugly. He is a famous debater monk in the Grey Fog Sea. He is extremely intelligent and eloquent, and he has made rapid progress in practicing Taoism. However, facing this old monk at this moment, the other person only said a few words, which actually made him speechless, unable to say a word. After a long silence, he said, Shizu, you came here with the one at the end of 10,000 paths just to continue the path forward, but in the sea of grey mist, Shidao's journey has already gone very far. The old monk said, the path of demons disguised as Taoism. Release. He gritted his teeth and continued, the person at the end of 10,000 paths, her backhand, and the chess game, this time, have also been destroyed by the sea of grey fog. The old monk shook his head and said, arrogant and arrogant. As he spoke, he raised his eyes, looked at the stone slab enshrined above, and said, do you know what I am offering? Xian shook his head and didn't know. The old monk said, the one at the end of 10,000 paths. She is the person closest to the real Buddha that I have ever seen. Great compassion and big heart. However, she still has not achieved transcendence because she cannot pass the test of love. He smiled slightly and said, you want to break her game and defeat her. Strike an egg against a stone. Xian said, whether it is true or not, Lord, she might as well go to Tianjiangzhou to have a look. The old monk stood up slowly and said, okay, I haven't been out of the temple for many years. Now that the world is coming and turmoil has begun, it's time to go out and have a look. As he spoke, he picked up a wooden box enshrined under the stone on the shrine. Shizu, what is this? Xian asked in confusion. The old monk said, the relics of Brahma from the Beiwu ancestral world in the pre-Beiwu era. It would be a pity to die for a genius who has achieved nirvana. He shook his head and said, let's go. Across the Dao domain. In ancient times, the East had the most fertile plains in the Xuanhuan Dao domain, but since entering the post-White Fog era, the East has been uninhabited. Because the terrain here has changed drastically. The mountains are vertical and the valleys are horizontal. The entire eastern part seems to have turned into a huge chessboard with mountains and ravines, straight and majestic. Vaguely, there seemed to be two parties competing fiercely on the chessboard. One party was attacking violently and with murderous intent, while the other party was trying its best to defend. The two sides' chess pieces competed with each other, making the earth look devastated and uninhabitable for living creatures. Using the earth as a chess game to deduce the path of chess, the ancestor of chess is indeed a figure who was once famous in the Grey Mist Sea. Qi Fenglan appeared here. He looked at the chessboard in the sky and couldn't help but sigh. Qi Fenglan, a descendant of the Yuan Qi sect, comes to pay homage to the Qi ancestor. He opened his mouth and said directly, the top 10 chess overlords in the Grey Mist Sea have broken through all the chess games at the end of 10,000 paths. I dare to ask the chess ancestor to take a look. Boom. A bridge formed from the true meaning of chess appeared directly at his feet, and an old voice sounded. A chess game that reaches all ends? What a big statement. I saw an old man appearing on the bridge. He had a wide robe and long sleeves, and a grey beard and hair. His two eyes were open and closed. At this moment, the open left eye shot out light and said, only you dare to break her game? Who in this world can do it? Chiziu's open eyes were full of disbelief. However, before he finished speaking, his left eye trembled violently and closed quickly. Then, his right eye opened. He opened his right eye, which was filled with a ferocious and tyrannical look, and said, ha ha ha, someone actually wants to break that woman's game. Show me what you are capable of. When Chiziu opened his left eye and right eye, they had two completely different faces. When his left eye opens, he looks like a chess master, neither humble nor arrogant, with a humble demeanor. But when his right eye opens, he looks cool and domineering. Sure enough, the legend is true. The chess ancestor had a schizophrenia. Chi Fenglin's heart trembled, and he immediately took out a formation plate more cautiously. It is the 10-kill formation that the Black Jew overlord and others put their efforts into. The chess ancestor grabbed the formation board, looked at it once, and said, "This group of young people from the Grey Mist Sea have achieved some success. They have used the ghost worship method and have indeed seen a more advanced chess technique, but weakness is weakness." His right eye was filled with disdain and he said, "Only 14 changes can be seen in this array, but in the 7-piece chess game, I'm afraid the changes are not limited to 14. Although I can't tell it for a while, there will be some problems with this formation. Come on, give me the array, I'll control it, and see how powerful that 7-piece chess game is." Hearing this, Chi Fenglin couldn't help but feel overjoyed. This is the best thing. No. Do you have the source of the grey mist? Give me something to eat. Otherwise, if my left eye opens in a while, I will not only not help you, but I will kill you. After all, when my left eye opens, I will be afraid of that woman. Chi Ziu's right eyelid suddenly twitched and seemed to be about to close, which made him very anxious. Upon hearing this, Chi Fenglin hurriedly took out several grey source crystals. This junior has only these 3 ancient sources of chaos. He presented the grey source crystal. He has a lot of source crystals on his body, but for a being like Chi Ziu, only the ancient source of chaos is useful. Enough, last 3 days. The chess ancestor took the ancient source of chaos and swallowed a piece directly. Suddenly, his right eyelid stopped twitching, and his left eye was completely closed, unable to rebound. "Chi ancestor, shall we go now?" Chi Fenglin asked. The chess ancestor nodded, but before leaving, he waved his hand, and the entire eastern part of the Zonghongdao domain, the billions of miles of plains, exploded. For so many years, Ziuyan has been competing with me. I have long wanted to defeat the whole world in a game of chess, but I was blocked. Now, my time has come. First break that woman's game, and then I dominate the heavens, and all the people in the universe are just my pawns." As he said that, he waved his hand, and he and Chi Fenglin both disappeared from the place and headed towards Tianjiangzhou, the true ancestor realm. Martial Wilderness World. Sister, a big change has occurred in Tianjiang continent. The 7 rainbows related to the 9 laws have appeared, and the people of the 9 ancient immortal tribes have all gone. The cabinet is asking all the elite geniuses to go, and this time, I am going too. In addition, I heard that many people from the Grey Mist Sea came over, also for this matter. Yu Linglong looked at the letter from her sister Yu Lingxiu, her beautiful eyes were extremely solemn. The big change in Tianjiang continent is related to the 9 laws. Even the Grey Mist Sea is going to be dispatched. She thought about it, then immediately stood up and said, "I have to go to Oath-Keeping Valley. This matter involves too much, and we must report it to the 10 masters." Soon, she arrived at the Oath-Keeping Valley and told Wu Xiaoqan and others about the news about the true ancestor realm. Today, the power of Oath-Keeping Valley has achieved an overall jump. The grey meat given by Li Fan before, was simply a supreme treasure to them. An ordinary shred of meat can make an ordinary disciple advance quickly and improve his qualifications. After all, the grey frog is the most powerful race in the Grey Mist Sea, reaching the immortal level, and every inch of flesh is considered a treasure. Not to mention just them, even the ultimate in the temple of sacrifice will bow down and ask for help. Wu Xiaoqan, Wu Jinhai, Wu Mingshan, Xianqing II and others have all reached the realm of Chaos Spirit King. In fact, Yu Linglong also benefited a lot after all. She got Xinning's permission at that time and ate a lot of meat in the Oath-Keeping Valley, and now she has greatly improved her strength. It is precisely because of this that she has become determined to become a member of the Oath-Keeping Valley and work for the 10 deities. The birth of the 9 laws, I vaguely heard Senior Dehe say that the 9 laws are related to Miss Yungzi. Wu Xiaoqan muttered. Hearing this, Yu Linglong was shocked again. What? Weren't the 9 laws created by the one at the end of 10,000 paths? How could it be related to a woman in this world? At this moment, she couldn't help but gasp, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. Could it be that there are more than 10 people behind the oath-keeping valley? Also includes his. She didn't dare to think too much. I'll go there. Wu Xiaoqan set off immediately. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 921. Heaven descends to the continent. People from the 9 ancient immortal tribes have completely taken control of this place. The Ape Monkey King, Divine Ox King, and Jinwu Turtle King who originally occupied this area had no choice but to compromise and reach an agreement with the 9 ancient immortal tribes. They got out of the way, but they also wanted a share of the opportunities and treasures. Ji Wuming, Wu Jiangan, Ning Yuanju and other door-level experts arrived in person and took up positions here. Well, these 7 rainbow lights are indeed the ones left by the end of 10,000 paths. They are very terrifying, far beyond the realm of the ultimate. Wu Jiangan drank wine and looked at the rainbow light appearing in the ruins in front. His eyes were quite solemn. This is her backup plan. As long as this backup plan is broken, there will be no risk of the 9 methods being leaked. We can rest easy. Ning Yuanju smiled. Ji Wuming said coldly. You have to be cautious. Don't forget, our plans have been ruined many times. Now Wu Jianghe has become the ultimate, known as the ultimate Shura. He is extremely terrifying. If he appears, it is likely to bring changes. Hearing this, the other 2 people were also awe-inspiring. They are not afraid of anything but Wu Jianghe. After all, Wu Jianghe's reputation is so great now that Wuhuang realm, demonic desolate, places with Wu Jianghe have become graveyards. Even the Terminators of the Grey Mist Sea died several times. Nowadays, the upper echelons of the 9 ancient immortal clans are all afraid of Wu Jianghe. Wu Jianghe is even said to be the ultimate Shura. Report. Master Qi Fenglin from the Grey Mist Sea is here. With him, there was an old man dragging a coffin. Hearing this, Ji Wuming and the others immediately stood up and went out to greet them. Not long after, they saw Qi Fenglin. I saw Qi Fenglin coming with an old man. The old man had a wide robe and long sleeves, but he only opened one right eye. He was pulling a coffin with a thick iron chain behind him. Welcome Mr. Qi. Welcome Mr. Qi. Ji Wuming and others saluted respectfully and said. Master Qi, who is this? Qi Fenglin smiled and said. This is the ancestor of chess. His chess ability is the best in the world. Hearing this, Ji Wuming and others were even more shocked and hurriedly saluted the chess ancestor. Stop being so verbose when I come here, get out of here. However, the chess ancestor waved his hand, raised his eyes and looked at the 7 white rainbows in front of him, and said. I'm here to break the formation. As he spoke, he stepped forward and appeared in the sky in front of the 7 white rainbows. Looking at the 7 white rainbows in front of him, the chess ancestor's old face revealed a look of astonishing joy. Okay, I will study it carefully, and there will be quite a lot of changes brought about by these 7 suns, 14 kinds, 15 kinds, at least 20 kinds. He took out the 10-kill formation of the top 10 chess masters in the Grey Mist Sea and began to adjust it. He thought hard and exhausted all his chess skills throughout his life. 23 types, 24 types, so scary, so scary. Chiziu's face was very solemn, and there was a trace of grey blood flowing out of his right eye. Seeing this scene, Qi Fenglin couldn't help but feel extremely shocked. Chess ancestor, it's too scary. His back was wet with cold sweat at the moment. He is also a chess genius, so he can naturally see that the chess ancestor is indeed right. The 7-piece chessboard is not just the 14 variations mentioned by the 10 overlords. If he were not the ancestor of chess, he would have boldly held this 10-kill array to crack the way to the end of 10,000 ways. He will die without a burial place. Therefore, he was very scared. Although the chess ancestor is stuck in the realm of seeing ghosts, his attainments in chess and his understanding of chess are still above those of the top 10 overlords. He couldn't help but murmur. If such a character had not given up on the golden world and stayed in the sea of grey mist, he would have already become a true ancestor-level existence, right? He suddenly felt that even though these former geniuses had missed some eras, they still should not be underestimated. 25 kinds, I have finished solving it, there are 25 kinds. Finally, the chess ancestor shouted, extremely proud, holding the chessboard, and was about to take action. But, at this moment, a pale hand suddenly stretched out from the coffin beside him and grabbed his hand. A hoarse voice sounded. You missed 3. There are 28 changes in total. The chess ancestor was suddenly startled. He turned around and saw that the coffin lid had been opened at some point. Among them, a man had already sat up. His face was grey and his eyes were full of grey mist, and he said, "This 7-piece chess game is already unpredictable and difficult to decipher, but the 7 pieces doesn't seem to be the end. The 28th change seems to be the cornerstone of other changes, which I can't figure out for the moment." He seemed to have a deep despair and melancholy, saying, "The person who laid out these 7 pieces has a chess skill that is unparalleled and hard to find in the world. He is an existence that cannot be looked up to in the chess world. Even if you practice for 10 million years, you will not be his opponent." Hearing this, Chi ancestor immediately became furious and said, "Nonsense, my chess skills are the best in the world. Who said I am not her opponent? I have to break it for you to see." He was very unconvinced, and his right eye was full of anger. The melancholy corpse looked at the 7-piece chess formation for a long time before saying, "Since you insist on dying to show me, then try to break it. You can activate this array first, and then you and I will join forces to deal with this 28th change." As he spoke, he paused, and said, "As for whether it can be cracked, it depends on God's will." Now, in a small mountain village, after breakfast, many disciples were doing their own things. On the other side, Li Fan was in the small courtyard. The south wind was playing the piano, and she entered the realm of soul enlightenment and her strength improved greatly. However, at this moment, she felt a sense of erraticity while playing the piano. The realm of soul enlightenment will inspire the 3 souls and 7 souls to realize the Tao through the eyes of the 3 souls and 7 souls. However, there were no 3 souls or 7 souls in her divine fire, so facing the new realm of Kindao, she actually became a little nervous. In fact, it was not just her, but also Long Xuanhuan, Zhuge Yuqing, and others. Without the 3 souls and 7 souls, how can we get a glimpse of the Great Road? Li Fan was petting the cat. Hearing the sound of the south wind, he couldn't help but say, "Are you looking for Koto's true self?" He could feel that there was a hint of confusion in the south wind's music, as if it was questioning his own thoughts. Why search for it? The path of the piano is like water, it has its own direction, and the sound of the piano is like the wind, although the sky and the earth turn around. Only by experiencing the thoughts of selflessness and selflessness can you feel the meaning of the piano at a higher level. He spoke calmly. Li Fan had already studied piano, chess, calligraphy, painting, etc., so he understood very well that various problems would arise during the learning process of these seemingly trivial skills. When the state of mind changes, the way of piano will change accordingly. Today's Nanfan seems to be missing a voice, questioning herself. However, this is actually not necessary. The true Tao must eventually reach the state of selflessness. When Nanfang heard this, he suddenly thought. There is no need to pursue the self, but directly enter selflessness and selflessness. She murmured, and an idea suddenly flashed in her heart. The realm of soul enlightenment, 3 souls and 7 souls, can allow me to discover and find the Tao faster, but the Tao is already there. Why do we need to borrow 3 souls and 7 souls? When we forget ourselves, the Tao can appear. When there is no self, there is the Tao. She instantly understood that the Master was teaching her the deepest level of enlightenment. You don't need 3 souls or 7 souls to achieve enlightenment. She is like a blessed soul. At this moment, she no longer cares about the 3 souls and 7 souls, but is free to follow her heart and feel the meaning of Tao with a selfless heart. Suddenly, her piano sound became free and sweet, no longer feeling stuck or confused. She has taken a step further in the realm of soul enlightenment. At the same time, other disciples around him also suddenly realized at this moment. Master is not only teaching senior sister Nanfan, he is also telling us, selflessness is the way to go. Tuguyuking murmured, he wrote without thinking any more. Xuanhuan smiled slightly and seemed very happy. He slapped the cold water repeatedly, and the little black fish jumped in his hands. They gave up the discomfort of lacking 3 souls and 7 souls, and instead looked for a more direct and mysterious method of enlightenment. Li Fan also smiled when he saw this. My disciples are still enlightened after all. Just one click. He was, and he couldn't help but look the other way. I saw Yongzi sitting obediently under the peach tree, looking at the chessboard, supporting his head with his hands, his big eyes blinking, thinking. She had already deduced all the 7-piece chess games, and the 28 variations of the 7-piece game were not difficult for her, and she understood them very well. What she was thinking about was what Li Fan said, when it becomes 8 sons, 9 sons, or even more. The changes seem endless. Now, she had finished thinking about the changes in the 8th child, and began to calculate the changes in the 9th child. The chess game remained unchanged, still the same scene as when Li Fan fell to the 7th piece. Even Zhang Li was watching and thinking. There are also differences in chess paths. The chess path Yun 11 is thinking about now is different from what he is playing, but it is of great reference value. Suddenly, Zhang Li's eyes moved slightly, because he discovered that there seemed to be some kind of fluctuation coming from the chessboard. In the chessboard, why does it feel like someone is trying to break the game? He felt it. The Master's situation has long been projected into reality. In reality, someone is trying to break the situation, and you can feel it. The peach tree's voice rang in Zhang Li's heart. Zhang Li suddenly shuddered. As expected of Master, the chess game actually reflected reality. Moreover, can the breaking of the game in reality be fed back to the chess game? This is too strong. He looked at the chessboard carefully and understood it with his heart. For a moment, he seemed to see the movement of chess pieces and the changes in the chess game. He easily sensed the thoughts of those who broke the situation in reality. The thoughts of the person who broke the situation are inexplicably familiar. Zhang Li couldn't help but murmur. Finally home. After sorting out my thoughts today, I feel that I will definitely be able to rise in January 2022. I swear, I will update 3 times in January 2022. If I can't do it, I'll swear again. Good night.